There is something off about Genshin Impact. It consistently makes an unreasonable amount of money, billions of dollars every single year. We're talking revenue numbers that make most blockbuster video games look like a kid's lemonade stand. And yet, it's a free-to-play gacha game. Those two phrases, billions of dollars and free-to-play, they don't usually go together. Unless, of course, the free part is doing some very heavy lifting. Before 2020, those words, gacha game, were basically insults, especially in the West. They meant low effort, predatory. You picture 2D JPEGs of anime characters sliding across the screen, games that looked like they were made in a weekend, but were somehow attached to a credit card terminal. So how did this game, this anime clone, break containment? And let's be honest, at launch, everyone called it a clone. How did it convince millions of skeptical PC and console players, the kind of players who hate mobile games, to not only download it, but to open their wallets? How did Genshin get them to start gambling on waifus? Well, it wasn't an accident, and it wasn't magic. It's a system, a meticulously engineered machine, a machine with interlocking gears, where every single piece is designed to do a job. Every single part of this game, the art, the music, the story, even the parts that feel generous, are all components of a perpetual motion engine. An engine designed less to trick you and more to make you want to pay. Especially the generous parts, the free stuff that is the most expensive part of the whole machine. Today we're going to deconstruct that engine piece by piece. If you appreciate this kind of detailed analysis, and if you want to see more, a simple like on the video and subscribing to the channel is, well, a free-to-play way to show your support. But anyways, to really understand how Genshin Impact became this dominant, you have to remember what the gaming market looked like before 2020, especially in the West. When a PC or a console player heard the words mobile game, and especially gacha game, they pictured something completely different. They thought of low-effort, 2D, formulaic titles. There was a very clear wall in people's minds between real games and those games. A wall made of snobbery, yes, but also, to be fair, a lot of really bad predatory games. And then Genshin Impact launches, and everyone immediately says the same thing. This is just an anime Breath of the Wild clone. The discourse was, let's say, loud. People were angry. It was a whole thing. The similarities were blatant, obvious. The climbing, the gliding, the art style, but this wasn't a lack of creativity. This was the entire strategy. HoYoverse looked at Breath of the Wild, one of the most acclaimed games of its generation, and said, yes, that one, we'll copy that one. And it was a deliberate bait and switch. Here's the bait, right? HoYoverse offered a high-fidelity, AAA quality game for free. A game with a massive budget and a high production values like a blockbuster movie. And it was on PC and PlayStation day one, alongside mobile. This move right here is the masterstroke. By launching on PC and PlayStation, it wasn't a mobile game ported to PC. It was a PC game that you can also play on your phone. The branding, the perception, it's completely different. This was the hook, and it was designed specifically to catch the spectacle, snobby PC and console players. The kind of person who would never willingly download something they thought was just a mobile gacha game. Because how can you complain? I mean, it's free, right? You can't say it's a cheap mobile game when it's running on your PC and it looks this good. It bypassed all of the usual arguments. But once those players were in, once they were hooked by the beautiful world and the exploration, the switch happens. The Breath of the Wild sandbox, the exploration, that is not the real game. That is just the wrapper. The very expensive, very beautiful wrapper. The true game, the core loop, is a deep team-based character collector. Games as a service, which is just a fancy term for a game designed to be played and paid for indefinitely. It is a service that provides you with a beautiful world, and in exchange, you provide it with your time and eventually your money. And the way you build that team, that is the gacha, the loot boxes. And suddenly, that Breath of the Wild lone hero model, it's gone. It's replaced by a team collector model. And wouldn't you know it, the game's core combat requires a team of 4. Funny how that works. This strategy is what legitimized the gacha model for a brand new mainstream audience. It broke containment. It took a monetization system that Western players saw as predatory and low quality, and then it hid it inside a product they already respected. It wrapped the pill in a piece of high quality AAA cheese. And it worked. The players were the mice, and we happily ate the cheese because, well, it was a really good cheese. The only problem is that this bait, this high quality cheese, was not cheap. That AAA on mobile Trojan horse was one of the largest financial gambles in gaming history. This wasn't an indie studio getting lucky. It was a calculated high risk, high high reward bet. This was not a cheap clone. The numbers are pretty staggering. It cost an estimated $100 million just for the initial development. $100 million for a free-to-play game from a studio that, at the time, wasn't a household name in the West. That is confidence. But the $100 million isn't the most important number. The real number is $200 million. That is the reported budget HoYoverse spends every single year on live service operations and new content. That is the part that is hard to wrap your head around. That is a new full-price AAA game budget every year just to keep Genshin running and growing. This is the game's true competitive moat. A moat in business is just a barrier that keeps competitors out. And this one is $200 million deep. This is why the Genshin clones that pop up, they struggle. They can copy the look, they can copy the gacha, but they can't copy the spending. They can't keep up with this relentless pace. The competitor can't just copy the gacha model. They have to be willing to spend $200 million every single year just to maybe deliver a comparable product. And that budget, that $200 million, is what funds the heartbeat of the entire system. The famously relentless, military-like 6-week update cycle like clockwork. Every new patch, 6 weeks, every single time, except that one patch where it took a very long time. This cycle is more than a patch schedule. It's a subscription in disguise. I mean, think about it, right? It isn't a mandatory monthly fee. Instead, it's a predictable reoccurring sales window that shows up like clockwork. The opportunity to spend is the subscription. Every 6 weeks, this engine fires. It provides new content, new story quests, new events. Sometimes this is the justification for you to log in and play. And at the exact same time, it provides new products, the new limited time characters. This is the thing for you to buy. The content pipeline and the monetization pipeline are the same thing. The new content serves as the justification for the new product. The new product funds the next wave of content. The gacha money from the last patch pays for the budget. The budget creates the next patch. The next patch introduces the next character to fund the next budget. And sometimes the budget goes into their wallets and it doesn't go back into the game. I mean, you had a lot of spares. Like, it is just how it is sometimes. It's a perfect self-reinforcing loop, a perpetual motion engine. But an engine on its own doesn't do anything. You still have to convince the player to actually pull the lever. So how do they convince you though? Well, the first part of the strategy is that the model is soft. The entire game is free. You don't have to pay for anything. This is the first and most important piece of psychological groundwork. You never feel forced. You are a guest, a very, very welcome guest. This feels like generosity, but it's a deliberate choice. The result is a massive, healthy ocean of free-to-play players. And this ocean is the populated, living environment that the high spenders, the whales, get to swim in and show off. Nobody wants to be the only person at a party, and nobody wants to pay to be the best at a gacha game nobody else is playing. The free-to-play players are the audience, and they are the social proof that makes the whale's purchase feel valuable. But when you do decide to spend, you don't just buy a character, you hit what people call the currency labyrinth. It's a multi-step path deliberately designed to abstract the cost, to disassociate, to make you forget you're spending real money. It is the same reason casinos use chips, use real money to buy Genesis crystals, and those crystals convert 1-to-1 into Primogems. Primogems are also the main currency you earn for free just by playing the game. And then when you use 160 Primogems to buy one fate, and then the fate is used to make one wish. It is a 5-step conversion process. It is intentionally confusing. You don't know what a wish costs, but you do know what 60 Genesis crystals cost. It's a mess, right? But it's on purpose. That 1-to-1 conversion from paid crystals to free Primogems, that is the key trick. It launders your paid currency. It mixes the $10 you just spent into the exact same pile as the Primogems you earned from a quest. Suddenly, that $10 is gone. It is just Primogems now. The paid part has been washed away. So when you go to make a pull, it just feels like you are spending Primogems. The psychological friction, the pain of spending real money is almost gone. You're not spending $2, you're spending 160 gems. It feels different. Now, a purely random gacha, a slot machine, is incredibly frustrating. Most people would just get angry and quit. And this is where the most predatory games fail. They are all stick and no carrot. Pure unmitigated frustration. You pull, you get nothing, you quit. And so HoYoverse solved this frustration with the pity system. This mechanic transforms the slot machine into a predictable savings plan. This is the psychological masterpiece. It reframes gambling as saving. And this is how it works, right? You are guaranteed a 5-star character on your 90th pull. This is hard pity. But as the community has proven with data, your odds start to spike dramatically around the 75th 24th pull. This is the soft pity. The soft pity part is especially clever because right when you're starting to get really frustrated, the game secretly starts juicing your odds. It gives you that dopamine hit just as you are about to give up. And that is the core retention hook because your pity counter carries over from one banner to the next. Your failed pulls are reframed. They are no longer a loss, they are an investment. This is brilliant. Every failed pull adds value to your account. It builds up this potential energy. A player who is 70 pulls in, they haven't wasted 70 pulls. They are 70 pulls closer to their guarantee. They have a sunk cost and they are now powerfully disincentivized from quitting the game because they would be abandoning their investments. If you quit, you're not just quitting the game, you're walking away from a nearly full progress bar. And the human brain hates doing that. But even that is not the most brilliant part. The real engine, the part that drives the monthly revenue, is the 50-50 system. Oh my god, this is the big one. This is the mechanic that makes adults, grown men cry and then open their wallets and then go homeless. When you finally do hit pity, when you get that 5-star, you now face a coin flip. A 50% chance it's the new featured character you actually want and a 50% chance you lose. You get one of the standard permanent characters instead. Another 𝗖cie perhaps? God forbid. It's always a 𝗖cie. Or maybe it's a Diluc, or maybe it's a 𝗖cie. I don't know. The community has memes about this. This loss is a universal experience. Now, in any other game, this is the moment you get furious. This is pure frustration. This is where you uninstall. But in Genshin, the loss becomes a new high-value asset for your account. This is the problem/solution engine. The game sells you a problem and then sells you the solution. Because if you lose the 50-50, your next 5-star pull on the limited banner is 100% guaranteed to be the featured character. You are no longer gambling, you are redeeming. You are turning your frustration into a golden ticket. This mechanic is what is known as the anti-churn. And churn is just another business term for when customers quit. A player who loses is now, in a way, empowered. They are locked in. They hold a guarantee. They are now highly motivated to keep playing and saving or spending for the next character they want, knowing their success is 100% assured. And that is the choice, isn't it? You lost, but you gained a guarantee. You are not going to waste that guarantee, are you? So you have to stick around. You are retained by losing. HoYoverse successfully took the single biggest negative outcome, the #1 reason people quit gacha games, and turned it into a powerful retention tool and a guaranteed future sale. But that system just explains how you buy. It doesn't explain why. So that is the how. The pity system is the mechanism. It is what gets you to the register, and it is what keeps you from quitting in frustration. But why, right? What creates the desire in the first place? What makes you want to buy that new product? Why not just be happy with the free characters? I mean, it's a free game, right? To answer that, HoYoverse uses what the research calls a dual revenue engine. They have two distinct engines running at all times, designed to capture two different types of players. This is how they get everyone, right? They have split the motivation. First, you have the meta engine. Think about the game's design. It follows a barbell strategy. 99% of the game, the exploration, the story, is casual. It's easy. The barbell design is critical. The game needs to be easy enough or very easy for the massive casual audience. But then there is the other 1%, the end game. The spiral abyss, the Stygian onslaught, and the other one that I forgot the name of is the permanent high difficulty end game. And it seems to exist for one very specific reason: to create a meta. It is a gear check, a spreadsheet solver's paradise. It is the place in the game where your bad characters are, well, bad. A meta is just the most effective tactic or character available to win. By having this one super hard challenge, HoYoverse provides the core justification for players to spend. It generates the need for meta-defining characters and their powerful limited time weapons. And suddenly, you need that character who can swirl and give you buffs, or you need that character who can apply Dendro really good and literally alleviate your entire account. The endgames creates the problem, and the new character banner sells you the solution. You see a pattern here? That is engine 1, by the way. It targets your power motivation. But what about everything else? What about the players who don't care about the abyss? What about the players who don't care about the endgame? The players who just want to explore and pick mint? HoYoverse has an engine for them too. And honestly, it's probably the more powerful one. That is engine 2, the parasocial engine. If you don't know yet, parasocial is just the term for the one-sided relationship you feel you have with a character or a celebrity or a voice actor. It is why people feel like they know their favorite streamer. It is that one-way intense emotional connection. But don't get me wrong though, me and you, we're not parasocial. We're friends. so subscribe. But going back, this of course is the waifu or husbando economy. It is the engine that motivates spending marketing based on a deep emotional attachment to a character's design, their lore, or their personality, completely regardless of their meta power. You're not pulling for meta, you're pulling for Ayaka because you want to protect her. You want to change her socks because she danced in the river so beautifully and her socks are wet and whatever, you want to smell it. That attachment, right? It is not an accident. It is not luck. It's an industrialized attachment process. This is where it gets really clinical. They manufacture this on a schedule. Every successful 5-star character is essentially built on a 3-level assembly line. First is visceral. This is the first impression. The hook, the art style, the music, the high-quality voice acting, the dazzling trailer that drops on YouTube. This is the 90-second animated shorts that gets like millions of views. And then you see content creators reacting to the trailer, being like, oh my god, this is the perfect character. Second, behavioral. This is the utility and the feel. How the character plays. This covers the meta parts. Is their kit fun? Is it powerful? Does it solve a problem in the abyss? This is the gameplay sell. And third, reflective. This is the part that builds the lasting bond. This is the waifu hook, the deep lore, the personality, the dedicated story quest and hangout events where the characters build a direct personal relationship with you. This is where they give you a quest where you go on a date with a character. This is the part that builds that emotional sunk cost. This dual engine, it ensures that every type of player is covered. Whether you're a meta slave just trying to clear the endgame, or you're a collector who just wants to protect your favorite character, HoYoverse has a product meticulously designed just for you. And the best characters, the really big selling banners, they hit all of these. They are meta defining and they have a great design. They have a tragic, compelling story. They are a triple threat product. So you have a dual engine meticulously designed to capture every type of player. But having a good product and a perfect sales pitch, that is just offense. It is not enough to guarantee dominance forever. You also have to play defense. So what does Genshin's defense look like? Well, we have already established the financial defense. That is the $200 million moat. That is the brute force defense. That is the big guy on the door defense. It just stops people from even trying to get in. But the real sophisticated defense, the 5D chess move, is what is called the portfolio strategy. This is the what happens when someone does get in defense, or more accurately, what happens when your own customers want to leave. And this is the really interesting thing, because when Honkai Star Rail launched, it looked strange. HoYoverse was, in effect, competing with itself, and Star Rail did take players and revenue from Genshin Impact. This was not an accident. It wasn't a sign of Genshin's failure. It was a deliberate cannibalization strategy. When a company's new product eats the sales of its old one, and HoYoverse did it on purpose. This is where the business genius becomes almost arrogant. Most companies are terrified of cannibalizing their own sales, but HoYoverse embraced it. I mean, think about Genshin's core design. It's an open world, the combat is manual, it's real time, it has that forced engagement. You cannot skip the cutscenes. It demands your full attention to be an immersion player. You can't really second screen Genshin, you have to play it. Well, that design is perfect for its audience. It actively repels the other half of the traditional mobile market. It repels the players who want a side game, a player on the bus or at their desk, the player who just wants to log in, hit auto battle, and watch the numbers go up, the commuter gamer, right? The I'm playing at my desk while I'm supposed to be working gamer. Genshin is bad at being that kind of game. Genshin Impact, by its nature, cannot be that game. So HoYoverse built the game that can. They looked at the market segment they were missing, and they built a second $100 million game to capture it. Honkai Star Rail. It is turn-based, it is auto battle friendly, it is designed from the ground up to capture that exact market segment that Genshin Impact cannot. It is the other side of the coin. It is the I want to auto battle my dailies in 5 minutes experience. It is a defensive masterpiece. HoYoverse would rather lose a Genshin player to itself, because here's the reality. Players burnout is inevitable. Players get bored of Genshin. They will become a flight risk. But now, where do they go? They go to Star Rail. They don't leave the ecosystem. They just move their spending from one HoYoverse app to another HoYoverse app. The result is a walled garden. HoYoverse created the entire AAA gacha market, and now they own the two biggest, strategically different properties inside of it. It is like owning both the Coke and the Pepsi factories. They have effectively cornered the market they have invented. But that is all before Wuthering Waves came in, and that requires a video on its own. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss it. But when you put all of this together, what do you actually have? You see that Genshin Impact's dominance is not from one single feature. It is the flawless execution of a perpetual motion engine. It is a total system where every single component, the art, the music, the code, the marketing, is meticulously engineered to serve the business model. Every gear meshes with the next. The combat system justifies the gacha funds the budget funds the content builds the parasocial bond drives the gacha. It's crazy. What they have done is fuse two things that didn't used to go together. They have fused the high art production value and the emotional retention of a big budget AAA console game with the relentless monetization, the fast sales velocity of a games as a service. They took the soul of a JRPG and the brain of a live service casino. That AAA quality, the live orchestral score recorded by the London Philharmonic, the forced engagement that makes you sit through those high quality full voice cutscenes, or sometimes they're not voiced at all of this is designed to build an incredibly high perceived value. This is not normal. This is a deliberate value signal. You feel like you're getting a $70 game for free, and that is what reframes the entire act of spending. It starts to feel less predatory and more like patronage. It's like supporting an artist, and this is the final and most powerful psychological trick. You are not a gambler. You are a patron of the arts. You're not being tricked into spending. You are a patron. You feel good supporting the company that delivers this massive, high quality, high art product all for free. You feel like you're paying them back for the 100 hours of free content you just enjoyed. It's a transaction, but it feels like a relationship. And once you feel that way, the pity system, the 50-50, these are just the frictionless mechanisms. They are the perfectly oiled, psychologically tuned pipes built to convert that warm feeling of patronage, designed directly into billions of dollars in revenue. They built the emotional desire, and then they built the mechanical pathway to convert that desire to cash with as little frustration as possible. And the 6-week cadence, that is just the heartbeat of the whole machine, the pacer, refreshing that conversion cycle over and over with a relentless discipline that competitors are hopefully not able to match. Genshin didn't just capture the market, it created a new one. It built a fortress around it, and now it sits on top of that fortress as the gold standard. And in doing so, it proved that a predatory gacha game could also be, in fact, one of the most expensive and high art products in the entire industry. It is a paradox. It is a high art, beautifully crafted, psychologically manipulative slot machine. This model is a masterclass in psychological design. It blurs the line between a loyal player and a monetized asset. So I'm curious what you think about this patronage model. Is it a fair exchange for a high quality product? Or is it simply the most effective problem/solution engine ever built? Let me know your thoughts below, but that is all from me, 𝗖𝗍𝗆𝗆, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!